So I like the Tokyo 2020 opening ceremony, but were there originally plans to add 8-bit video games? Let's discuss this report. Hey everybody, Bloodman Bobby here. So, I personally like the opening ceremony to the Tokyo 2020 or 2021 games. I'm good with either way people call the games, but anyway, I personally like the opening ceremony. I thought it was really heartfelt. I remember watching it on TV with my sis, and we felt that it was definitely a bit more morbid than most opening ceremonies. This one was sensitive to the pandemic and much more heartfelt and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I was glad that that it came off as really genuine and heartfelt. And it was also cool at the very end to see tennis player Naomi Osaka light the Olympic torch. So I was personally fine with the opening ceremony. But I'll be honest, the Nintendo fan in me was like, I was expecting video games to play a part in this opening ceremony. Like, before I got to see the opening ceremony, I think me and a lot of people were expecting that it was going to be a show that combined Japanese history with Japanese pop culture, things like anime and video games. Well, in terms of video games, they may have played a part in the original plans for the Tokyo 2020 or 2021 opening ceremony. Nintendo Life said they got this report from a website called bunshun.jp, I hope I said that right, that said they've seen 11 varied scripts from the creative process and multiple project leads from the Tokyo opening ceremony. Nintendo Life said that there were going to be 3 segments planned with Nintendo at different points. There was one plan that got cut around October 2020 that involved a Mario green pipe scene, kind of like the one that they had in Rio, where the former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe turned into Mario and then he came out in Mario's clothes. Except this time, they originally pitched to have Lady Gaga come out in a Mario hat. And there's also reports saying that there was also going to be an impressive early sequence inspired by 8-bit video games, and Mario creator, or his dad, Shigeru Miyamoto, was supposedly very involved in the making of the ceremony. Nintendo Life said that he attended meetings in Tokyo for some time. And when that got cut, the report said that Nintendo had some mixed feelings about that. Nintendo Life also said there's a script dated June 16th of this year that said that tracks from Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Pokemon were planned to be part of the show, but none appeared in the final opening ceremony. If anything, the video game music that played during the Parade of Nations were from games like Nier Automata and Final Fantasy, and that probably explains why, not to go off on a tangent, but I think that explains why I personally didn't recognize a lot of the tunes, because I don't usually play those kind of games. But but I do know that people have recognized those songs. I remember doing a stream on Instagram where one of my followers said he recognized some of the video game songs that played during the Parade of Nations. The reason I think the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Games turned out the way they did, I feel like what was going on is that the International Olympic Committee and all the organizers of the Tokyo Games were really stuck in a really sticky situation, in that while the games were going to go on, there's also a lot of skepticism and a lot of controversy. Like, Nintendo Life themselves even point out there's low levels of support due to the Tokyo Games, and major sponsors either scaled back or withdrew support, I imagine due to the pandemic. Because I could see where people were coming from in terms of why would they hold the Tokyo Olympics during a pandemic and things like that. And so I feel like they were in this situation where the organizers, they wanted the games to go on, but at the same time, they didn't want to come off as ignorant or ignoring the problems of the pandemic, which of course affects a lot, many people worldwide, including myself. I've had to work a remote job since the pandemic began, so I just feel like what probably would have what their concern was is that if they held a usual opening ceremony that was very festive and exciting, a lot of the skeptics would have called out the Olympics, saying, hey, that's ignoring the problems of the real world, ignoring the problems of the pandemic, and it's a giant risk. So Personally, for me, I still give them a lot of credit for turning out the opening ceremony as they did. Like I said, I did think that the first third of the opening ceremony was very heartfelt and genuine. And also, I like the bits where they had the carpenters coming out and doing the bit of tap dancing and putting together the Olympic logo. And I also like the part with the kabuki actors. So I thought, as is, it was fine. In an ideal world, like if there was no pandemic to worry about, I think I would have preferred a Tokyo opening ceremony that maybe took notes from like the London Olympic ceremony, because I really like London's opening ceremony because of its mix of both, like, history with the Industrial Revolution, as well as mixing in a lot of music from a lot of famous British artists like David Bowie, the Beatles. I remember Paul McCartney was singing Hey Jude. So I would have liked to have kind of seen the Japanese version of that, because Japan itself has a real rich history, and I think, not to be selfish or anything, but I think it really would have gone over really well with my family, because my dad is really into Japanese history, especially when it comes to art and woodblock prints. And in an ideal world, I could also imagine a Tokyo opening ceremony where it has a lot of pop culture references, especially because me and my sister, we really like Studio Ghibli movies, and especially the Japanese video games. We love playing games from Nintendo. I'm also a fan of games from publishers like Namco and Konami. Not so much these days with Konami, but you get the idea. So I think in an ideal world, it could have been more of an opening ceremony that got to focus even more on history and pop culture. But I think what ended up happening was that the organizers put together a ceremony that was supposed to please both Olympic fans, but also dial down some of that heat they've been getting due to the controversy of the Tokyo Olympics. Now, there is that closing ceremony that's coming up, but I'm really not sure how that's gonna go. I know that there's some people out there who would have liked to have seen the Tokyo opening ceremony go in a more sort of a festive or pop culture direction, but I'm not really sure what they're going to do with the closing ceremony. Is it going to be something more like that, or is it going to be something closer to what was in the opening ceremony, where it was more sensitive to people suffering due to the pandemic? I am not really sure, especially since the closing ceremony, from the time I'm uploading this video, is around a week away. I'm not really sure what they could add or change. Personally, as far as my inner Nintendo fan, being kind of sad that there wasn't many Nintendo references. As far as that goes, I've just been, listening to tracks from Animal Crossing and Mario Kart to sort of make up for the lack of those tunes at the opening ceremony. But let me know your thoughts down below. What do you personally think of the Tokyo 2020-2021 opening ceremony? Do you think that there's going to be more pop culture references at the closing ceremony, or do you think the closing ceremony is going to be more similar to the opening ceremony? Leave all your thoughts down below, and until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby. Thank you all for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.